Dark Souls is the embodiment of a contradiction that is at the same time seamless in its construction. On one hand, this game punishes you severely, but on the other hand, it rewards you with the greatest feelings of satisfaction one can feel when playing a video game. This game backstabs and throws you into the darkest pits, making you feel lost and hopeless, but at the same time it gives you a sense of safety and belonging. It offers you the two sides of the spectrum, without never ever telling you which is right and which is wrong. It is a game that gives you a sense of purpose and direction, but can steal it away from you completely a moment later. This game is a true example of subversion done right, because this game subverts not only the good, but also the bad. Playing this game reminded me of what my big sister frequently says of Stephen King as a writer, a person that is often renowned for his ghoulish themes, but when one takes the time to actually read one of his books, you end up encountering an author that is way more nuanced and sensible than just a teller of gruesome tales. The same goes for Dark Souls. Looking at this game from outside, one might think that this is just a morbid, grotesque horror game led by a walking tin man that is constantly rolling sideways in full plate of armor and is getting wrecked every 5 seconds. But the game subverts even the negative by quietly revealing all of its layers, the bad and the good, and making you realize that this experience is more thoughtful, rewarding, and ultimately beautiful than it might seem on surface level. Whether it is in terms of storytelling, world design, themes, or game mechanics, it is undeniable the impact that this game has had both in the gaming industry and overall culture. However, a common thing that recurs within the Dark Souls community is the impact that these games tend to have with people that suffer in any form. Thus, countless videos have arisen reporting personal accounts and various psychologists analyzing these games and the surprisingly positive effect that they have on people. The philosophy of Dark Souls. Dark Souls changed my life. How Dark Souls saves you. Dark Souls is good for mental health. Dark Souls helped me cope with suicidal depression. Dark Souls saved my life. Don't you dare go hollow. All of these are phrases that anyone that has explored the topic of Dark Souls and any From Software game will chance upon sooner or later. I certainly have, even before playing this game, and part of it was what motivated me to buy this game, despite its infamous reputation for extreme difficulty. The thing is that I wouldn't play the game for over a year after buying it, too busy with YouTube and living real life to dedicate on such a hard game, I thought, until one day I simply booted the game, created a character, and started exploring the game to see what it was like. The intro was somber and interesting, slowly guiding you through the basics until you defeat your first boss and fly away from the asylum. It is when I arrive at the Firelink Shrine, with the music, the ambience, the promise of an unexplored land ripe with mystery and sad yet hidden beauty, that I felt it. You know what I mean. It was then that I was fully captivated. A feeling that I rarely feel these days with the mountain years and the burdens that they bring. But why did I choose to start playing that game all of a sudden? Why then and not before or afterwards? Looking back, I fully realized the beauty of this game and how in many ways it helped me. I cannot say that Dark Souls saved my life or anything close to that, for luckily I was not in such a dark place. But I can say, without a doubt, that Dark Souls has helped me through the recent troubling times that I've been through. I am not going to burden anyone with details, for such things are personal and involve more people than just me. But my life has been through changes lately, and change, whether good or bad, always create a sense of instability and fear. People that I have always loved and look up to are changing. Some are growing old, dependent, and more likely to get sick or hurt, while others have become shackled by burdens beyond their control, their lives going through uncertain paths that are difficult to predict, and thus difficult to protect. To make things worse, very recently, I also had to bury an uncle, highly beloved by all, and the grief of his closest family members was heart-wrenching. The saddest thing is that the man was fine the last time I saw him. He could have well lived 10 to 15 more years straight, but then, a few weeks later, he grew incredibly ill and then died. Afterwards, life became an aimless mess. My insomniac nature, which I worked so hard to control for years, all of a sudden was blown out of proportions, and to this day, I still struggle to put it under control again. I found myself without interest to do much else aside of being with my loved ones. I couldn't write a word. I had no interest in making any videos or trying out anything new with the channel. The weirdest thing is that I normally couldn't understand the change in me, and I had to remind myself that I was grieving, that grieving is still a thing in the modern, fast-paced and unforgiving world that we live in. Strangely so, Dark Souls kept me entertained and at times even consoled through all of these trials, through these months of change and mourning. It was really the only thing that I found myself wanting to do. And whenever I had the chance, I would sit and continue exploring the lands of Lordran. I found peace while exploring these lands, finding kindred spirits in the many colorful characters and a semblance of understanding in their suffering. The sense of community that this game creates through both fictional characters and real people is truly magical. And even if you often get invaded and it can be bothersome at times, the fact that somewhere in the world there are other souls exploring Lordran, willing to help you battle these horrors, is inspiring and consoling for those that are suffering in real life. It is weird how creators from another time and place can sometimes understand you so well, reading your thoughts and offering you that helping hand, that understanding hand that anyone at one point or another will need. Dark Souls really is good for your mental health, if you allow it to help you. I found peace, intrigue, excitement, and even triumph unlike anything any other game had ever given me before. This is a truly magical game that always seems to find its way into people's lives during that particular moment when they truly needed it. One of the best things about this game is that its quiet, unintrusive nature opens the door for you to do a lot of introspection. As I played this game, I found myself thinking a lot about everything. I thought about my personal life and the people within it and where we are going. I thought about my channel, which has become such a significant part of me ever since creating it. There were times during these months of inaction that I considered quitting YouTube altogether and moving on to other things. After all, no one likes what I do. I constantly get hate for criticizing ill will and ill behavior. We live in such perverted times in which you're villainized for pointing out the mistreatment of legacies, for criticizing these perverted modern stories that demonize good people and what they stand for, and these depraved modern stories that romanticize, condone, and even glorify fratricide and the abuse of children. So if criticizing these things makes me the bad guy, and people are so willing to embrace the negative, then why continue tarnishing my physical and mental health when no one cares? It was then, within the darkest depths of Lordran, that I realized how close I was of, quote-unquote, becoming hollow. The whole point of this game is to never go hollow, and that means never give up. This is embodied through the cryptic, confusing nature of the game's world design and through the grueling nature of its difficulty. A more significant and powerful message any story, any work of art cannot deliver. I cannot stop doing what I'm doing because, for as many people as there is that dislike me for what I say in my videos, there are plenty others that agree. I am not here to provide content for my haters. I must remain for those few that are either entertained by my work or find solace in a kindred spirit. This is the beauty of Dark Souls. It offers you a warm blanket during the coldest nights and a scrying mirror into your own psyche with which you can reflect and better yourself. I will always credit Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice as the game that inspired me to start this channel, and I will always credit Dark Souls as the game that saved it. Thank you, From Software. Thank you so very much. This video was more personal than how I usually make them. After the long months of hiatus, I figured I owe my viewers, whom I appreciate and respect very much, the reason as to why. I dedicate this video to you, my fellow YouTubers, who've believed in me, supported me throughout this journey, and particularly to those that remembered me during my months of hiatus and misery. Sometimes, a small comment can make the difference between quitting altogether and pushing forward. So thank you, Ituzeral. Thank you for caring. This will be my last video this year, but I will be back as soon as possible with more reviews and reflections on different things. Here's my overall lineup for next year, along with more Hellblade and Dark Souls topics that I want to cover aside of what I have already said and done. There are other games and ideas for videos that I would like to share with you, but I do not want to overpromise and underdeliver, so we'll leave it at that for now. As always, I cannot end this video without wishing you the best in the holiday season and the upcoming year. Stay safe, and of course, don't you dare go hollow.